The Business Bully Podcast is being brought to you by Audible. With over 180,000 books to choose from, you can get your life. So make sure you go right now to audibletrial.com/bully and get your 30-day free trial plus a free audiobook download. audibletrial.com/bully. Now it's bully time. Let's get the show started.
He's been an award-winning media personality and producer. As a speaker, he's empowered over 1 million people from the stage. Now, one of the leading brand experts and business coaches in the U.S. is bringing his unique brand of straight talk to the world of on-demand audio. It's the Business Bully Podcast. Now, here's the business bully himself, David Anderson.
Yo, what's going on? What's happening, people? Hope all is well. Welcome to the Business Bully Podcast. I am Dave Anderson, and I'm really excited to have you here. Oh, man. Listen, I wanted to do the show today because there's a lot that's been going on that has been bothering me. So the topic of today's show is Newsflash, Hollywood hates black women. Yes, indeed, because I really want y'all to understand what's happening in this industry, and it's absolutely disgusting. And as a father of 2 black women, I am really disgusted. But before I get into all of that, let me get into all of this. I had a lot of people ask me a bunch of questions, bullyquestions@gmail.com, things they wanted to talk about, things they wanted me to discuss. And so I'm going to take a couple of those today and seeing what we can get done here. So let's see here, because there's a ton of things to sort through here. All right, so shout out to everybody who's telling me they love the podcast too, man. Tracy Massey, I saw your shout out. This one young lady sent me this long message, and I want to read it to you. And she says, "Well, Dave, this is interesting. I did a self-study. I'm active with 2 businesses. However, I recently decided to go natural. My logistics business clientele is majority white and foreigners, and my tax business is mainly black customers. So last year, I wanted to see how people would treat me with my natural. So you'd be surprised at how I may show up to a job with my natural hair, maybe in a beanie or a bun or just some baby dreads. I had one guy treat me and really suspecting, like one guy's just following me with our every move, like we were going to steal something. Similar with my black clientele. When I was walking around with my baby dreads out, they didn't want me, but everybody seemed to want to come in contact with me once my wig was on. I was more easy and trustworthy. In short, I think it's a huge double standard when it comes to the black community. Most black people are more trusting to people with straight or European-looking hair, even if it's a wig. Now, the Black Power movement says love who you are, be natural, and love it, but then blacks are the ones who have the hardest time spending with black people. If I had black customers all around in logistics, I wouldn't care. However, I rarely get black customers in that. Even when I used to serve tables, I cut all my hair off and noticed that my income dropped. Long story short, I am my hair. Image is everything. People will judge you in how you look. You are what you look like in business. Lucky for me, I have skills, which is twice that. I've been battling with this struggle, and it needs to be put out there how black people who are natural are judged. It's not right." Okay, so first and foremost, you can do what you want with your hair. I personally don't care. My personal preference is natural hair because I feel like when it comes to me as a black person, black people are the original people. These are just scientific facts. This is in no way black nationalism for people who are not necessarily black who are listening to this show. I am saying that the original man comes from Africa. That's just a fact. And everything out of that is an offshoot. So when it comes to our hair is the strongest. It is the most resilient. It is the most versatile. You know, if you leave it wet, it curls up and gets closer to the scalp. If you blow it out, it can be as long as European hair. It can lock. It can twist. It can corkscrew. You know, it can braid. It can stay. I mean, it can do so many things. And I'll never forget David Banner once famously said that the one thing that's awesome about black hair is that it is the only hair out of all of humanity that actually reaches towards the sun from where we get our energy. Now that in and of itself is powerful. So having said that, I'm going to say this to you, young lady. This is a situation where you have to understand that because of over 400 years of systematic white supremacy, it's a matter of understanding that people, especially our people, black people specifically, hate themselves. No one likes me to say that, but it's the truth. There is so much self-hate and self-shame that it feeds into absolutely every corner of our existence in America. And I personally take great offense to that. I have daughters. They both have natural hair. My wife has natural hair, and nobody can tell me that my wife and my kids aren't the most beautiful creatures walking the face of this planet. We have to take pride in who we were. See, and that's the problem. My grandmother told me, God rest her soul, she told me once, we had a conversation. We were talking just about what it was like when my mother and my aunts and uncles were coming up. And she said, And she said, I tried to warn them. Now, keep in mind, my grandmother was born in the 1920s. And so her recollection of things is different from that of my mother. Because my mother came along, quite a few years later, obviously. But my grandmother would talk about how all of her children were born in black hospitals. And I was like, black hospitals? What's that? And I wasn't even being funny because I'd never heard of such a thing. I've never heard that there was all black hospitals with all black doctors and all black nurses. And I was blown away by that. And she said, do me a favor. I said, yeah. She said, tell me about the city. And I said, well, okay, what do you want to know? And she was like, well, if you go down, I live in Philadelphia. She's like, if you go down around 8th and Market, what do you have? I said, aside from the Gallery Mall, you've got Chinatown. She said, okay, what if you went all the way south? What if you went to South Philly? I said, well, that's where all the Italians are. And she said, what about the Northeast? I said, well, that's pretty much where you have the Russians and the Indians. She says, huh. And where are most of the black people? I said, the hood. And I said, oh. You see, we're the only people that don't have our own community. You know what I mean? And we're also the only people that allow everybody to come in and pilfer from our community. You have yet to see a soul food spot open up in Chinatown. These are just actual factuals. So we have this thing where we want everybody to integrate. So all this integration, my grandmother went on to say, all this integration we got, and we lost our community. There's very few black banks. The main black businesses that we have either have to do with, barbershops, beauty salons, things of that nature. There's not a whole lot of other black businesses en masse. They do exist. I have some. I know 32,000 people who have businesses, but it's not in the great numbers that those surviving businesses are. And even with that, the majority of the products that we get come from people who do not look like us. So we don't support ourselves, and a lot of people now, because natural has become big business to the mainstream society, all of a sudden you see all these people, trying to get on the natural bandwagon, but then you have all these people who treat you differently and tell you that your hair is unprofessional and unkempt. And then sisters get mad at me because I'll say things like, you keep talking about you're a feminist and this, that, and the third, you love Gloria Steinem so much. So where was Gloria Steinem when that woman who was on the news lost her job because she went natural? Where's Gloria Steinem then? Where was Gloria Steinem when that little girl outside of Dallas, Texas was getting beat down by the cops? Where's Gloria Steinem then? Where's feminism when black women are in trouble? See, you can't really take on the ideology of people who are trying to suppress you systematically and expect justice from said organization. That's not how it works. They love you for your numbers. They love you for your strength. They love you for your passion. And you get to go out there and be like a big old black Mickey Mouse and be the face of something, but you never reap the benefits of it. So we don't get into ourselves. We don't support ourselves. And then we always look at ourselves backwards. Here's one thing I'll never understand. I grew up in the hood. And in the hood, I'm not even on front. You can go to a Chinese restaurant and they will give you some really good fried chicken. The fried chicken is absolutely excellent. I like shrimp fried rice. I'm not going to front on that. I like, there's this song this kid made just in Philly. It's like 4 wings, shrimp fried rice, homemade lemonade. Could you please add ice? Poke a hole in my top, poke a hole in my top. And it's true because that's, the homemade lemonade and the iced tea that you get at a Chinese restaurant is phenomenal. My issue is, how can you come into my community, be so afraid of my people, but have no problem taking my money, but you do it from behind 3 inches of bulletproof glass? And black people, why is it okay for you to support that? Where are your standards? So, sister, I'm going to say this as lovingly as I possibly can. If somebody's got an issue with your beautiful natural crown of hair that God gave you, fuck them. Fuck them sickly. I am so sick of people acting like it's okay for us to have to shrink back and nobody else has to shrink back. Now, keep in mind, I'm the business bully. I'm not the black business bully. I am the business bully who happens to be black. And because my blackness will not let me sit idly by, somebody's got to defend these sisters. Which brings me to you brothers. A lot of you brothers have an issue because you saw your mama put stuff in your head talking about she don't need no man to do nothing and this, that, and the third, and you've been emasculated since birth. No, brothers, you know why other communities don't have these issues with their women in the amount of mass that we have them? It's because their men will step up and protect them. At what point will you start protecting your sisters? At what point will you start protecting your queens? Now, I'm not saying go out here and get all Huey Newton, but don't let nobody sit up here and disrespect no black woman, and you stop disrespecting it too. I see this shit when you watch World Star Hip Hop, and it's a bunch of black women fighting each other over God knows some dumb shit. And y'all sitting around like a bunch of bitches watching a damn dog fight with your cameras out screaming, World Star, yeah, boy, I hope a titty pop out. You're despicable. You're absolutely despicable. You disgust me. I am sorry that your mother didn't swallow your sorry asses. And there's no other way for me to say that, because when I sit up here and I defend black women, then I look like I'm some kind of extra. And I'm not no feminist. I'm not on that. But what I am is a black man who is a husband, who is a son, who is a nephew, who is a father of 2 black girls. There are no men in my house other than me. So I got to protect them. And I got to protect people who look like me, because whether you realize it or not, black women are the vessel that brought your black ass here. So where is your respect? Where is your self-dignity? Where is your sense of pride in your people? But no, y'all team light skin, team dark skin. Oh, I want me a white girl because white girls do this, that, and the third. Let me tell you something. I am a happily married black man, and I am completely satisfied with my happily married black queen. You better believe that. And there's nothing anybody else can do for me, and this is just my personal preference speaking, but I love me first. And if you don't love you first, you really need to lay down with a psychiatrist. Sit on that couch and figure out what the hell is wrong with you. Which brings me to the topic of the show. Newsflash, Hollywood hates black women. Okay, so I woke up this morning, and the trailer for Ghostbusters came out. Now, I'm all about a reboot. I love reboots. Reboots are awesome. I like the Star Wars reboot, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I want to talk about the fact that Ghostbusters put out a reboot today. A reboot trailer. And I'm looking at the trailer, and it's like, cool. You know, I see the firehouse, and I see all that. And this Ghostbusters takes place in the universe where the original Ghostbusters did not exist. Fine. You want the new franchise to live and breathe on its own. I'm cool with that. Here's where you lose me. You've got an engineer and 2 doctors. One of them's a physicist, and the other one does something else. I forget. But Leslie Jones, who is a phenomenal comedic actress, she's extremely funny, and I'm not mad at Leslie Jones for getting her check. She gets to be the regular MTA worker, Mass Transit Authority, whatever MTA stands for. But, you know, she basically works in the subway and the bus system, the mass transit system. Now, before you get on your high horse and say, oh, well, Dave, why can't a sister just have a regular job, this, that, and the third? Let me break down who I am, okay? I am the son of a mother who came from the projects. My mother, to pay her way through college, stay with me now, my mother drove a school bus. My mother worked on an assembly lines putting together TVs. My mother became a professional gift wrapper in holiday seasons. I understand doing regular people work. My mother spent 35 years teaching people in Philadelphia school district who did not get it. I'll never forget, my mother came home in tears one day because this woman comes up to my mother and says, you got my son talking about Jesse Jackson. Well, who the hell is Jesse Jackson? Michael Jackson's brother? So even in the 80s, our people were lost, and my mom broke her ass. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for black women who get it how they live and work wherever they gotta work. However, when we're seen on the screen, we need to be seen in a certain light, especially my black women. Because if you notice, whenever a black woman has a regular job, she's comic relief. She's got to be sassy and smart and funny. And then so you go throughout this Ghostbusters trailer, because I don't want to veer too off from my point. You go through this Ghostbusters trailer, and they need a vehicle. The Ghostbusters need a vehicle. Now, stay with me for a minute. You've got 3 doctorates here. You got 3 people with 3 doctorates and Leslie Jones. And the 3 people with 3 doctorates couldn't get a vehicle? So they get the vehicle from Leslie Jones, who got it from her uncle. Guess what the vehicle is, y'all? It's a hearse. Now, that was funny when Bill Bellamy did it in Love Jones because it was ironic and it was tongue-in-cheek and there wasn't much cooning involved. Everybody knows that one dude who's cheap. But when somebody borrows it from their uncle, there's a whole lot of underlying messages there, as if to say her father's not there. Now, stay with me a little bit further for a minute. So they're taking this hearse and they say to her, it's a hearse, and like, oh, but it's a Cadillac, because, you know, black people just loves some Cadillacs. The only thing that was missing was Leslie Jones having a piece of fried chicken in one hand and a piece of watermelon in the other. Now, Leslie Jones doesn't have an issue taking this role. She's happy with the role. She wants people to go see it. If that's what you want to do, cool. I'm not going to go see it because I saw all I needed to see in that trailer. In the 1980s, Ernie Hudson was the Black Ghostbuster, and he was a regular guy. However, he didn't bring a hearse to the party. He just wanted to be involved, and he wanted to save his city. World of difference. So don't sit up here and act like that shit is cool, because it's not. I am sick and tired of sisters being played that way. And then you'll say to you, because I know your next thing is going to be, well, Dave, what about the roles where black women are doing well and they're popular? Let's examine those for a minute, shall we? I love Kerry Washington. I think Kerry Washington is fine as frogs here. I do. I think she's a brilliant actress. I think she's extremely talented. But the truth is the truth. Kerry Washington gets to be a Negro bedwench on Scandal. Because I will tell you this. If, in fact, the First Lady was Kerry Washington, and the president was black, and the president was cheating on the First Lady, the black First Lady, with a white press secretary, y'all would not have all this to say. Y'all would be pissed and outraged, and you wouldn't watch the show. It wouldn't just be entertainment then. Viola Davis, another fine actress, doing How to Get Away with Murder. If you go back and you look at my YouTube channel, there's an interview I did with Jamie Foxx where we had a very similar idea for Viola Davis for a show to be based in Philly where she took charge and also other stuff. It's really dope. It's very similar to How to Get Away with Murder, so I wonder. But anyway and anyhow, why is it that Viola Davis has to be seen and she's got to rip off all of her stuff and they try to ugly up a beautiful woman? And there's nothing ugly about somebody in their natural state. And I get that women pull off their stuff and, you know, get ready to go to bed. But it's always when she's depressed and she's drunk, you know. So all these people professionally, they have it together, but their personal life is in a shambles, as if a black woman can't have a normal personal and professional life. Really? Seriously? No, I'm not here for it. I'm absolutely not here for it. We need better images. And the other thing, so that my white, Latino, Asian listeners can understand where I'm coming from for a minute, there is not balance. There is not, for every Duck Dynasty or for every, Jerry Springer, you have an Apprentice, or you have, soap operas with white people doing well. There's not that for us. Okay. And some things are just mindless dribble. But then you factor in the other things that come into play, like these reality shows where you have, people coming along and they're fighting over, has-beens and washed up rappers. At what point do we just stop ourselves and say, you know what? This is kind of whack. This is kind of corny. And I'm not really here for it. And I want us to do better. When is that a thing? I don't understand. I really want you guys to take into consideration what is going on. How do we get there? What do we need to do in order to take control of our imagery? I have a few suggestions. First, how about we stop watching this bullshit? I mean, seriously, how about we stop watching this bullshit? We spend a whole lot of time worrying about integrating. Oh, everybody's so worried about the Oscars being so white. But most of y'all won't go to a BET Awards. Y'all won't watch the BET Awards. You won't support the NAACP Awards. McDonald's has an award show, the 365 Black Awards. You won't support that either. Not that I'm big on supporting McDonald's, but at least they're honoring black people. Russell Simmons did a show honoring black folks. How many people went out and saw that? Very few, but I'm sick of kind of being the butt of the jokes. I'm sick of being the entertainment or the help, pun intended. We've got to get better. We've got to do better. And I'm sorry if this comes off as a rant, but it's bad for business, because when you go out here And see, unlike most people, I've lived in various sections of this great country. And I love my country, don't get me wrong. But when things are fucked up, I ought to be able to say as an American that shit is fucked up. I'll never forget, I moved to North Carolina. And there are plenty of black people in North Carolina. But there are certain parts of North Carolina that are ridiculously white. And I'll never forget, this guy says to me, well, Taz, because that's what people called me then. They said, well, Taz, you're not like them. And I'm like, them who? Like the black people we see on TV. I was like, excuse me? Oh, because they're out there and they got their pants hanging out and they're like, yeah, know what I'm saying? Yo, yo, yo. And you can't see me, but he's like moving his arms back and forth like a b-boy, like making b-boy stances and grabbing his crotch because that's what's put out there. So then when you see somebody like me come along, your first reaction is to feel fear. Let me go on because you can say, oh, well, Dave, that's just an isolated incident. In 2005, I took over at CBS Austin as a programmer, which means I had my own radio station. I was programming a hip-hop station under a guy named Dusty Hayes. Phenomenal guy, great guy. And I remember I had some interviews to do because we were still staffing up. And I get into the elevator. Now, this is a glass building. It's a beautiful building, and the elevator was glass. So I get in the elevator, and there's a woman, and she sees me. She takes one look at my big black frame, and she starts clutching her purse. I think nothing of it. I knew what that was. I just looked at her and smirked. And then I went into my office. About 5 minutes later, the secretary calls me and says, Mr. Anderson, your 9:30 is here for our interview. So I get up out of my office and I prepare myself to, see who this interview was. And it was the girl who had clutched her purse, who didn't realize that David Anderson could have been a black man. And David Anderson, in fact, was a black man. So I took her in my office, and no, I didn't hire her ass, but I gave her a real education in tolerance. And I told her this: just because you see a big black guy doesn't mean that he is going to take your purse. By the way, you were in a glass building, in a glass elevator with cameras absolutely everywhere. I'd have to be a bit of a moron to do that. And yeah, I work for a major conglomerate that trusts me enough with millions of dollars to make sure that their investment is sound. I went to school. I've never committed a crime. I am a good, loving individual. And you're not going to get this job because I can't have a suspected white supremacist working under me. Because all I can think of is sooner or later you're going to try to undermine me. Not because you mean to be mean-spirited, but it's in you. Because if you'll clutch your purse, you'll sit up there and you'll lie on me. You'll sit up there and you'll cry rape. You'll sit up there and say I did something I didn't do. You'll sit up there and say I embezzled. And then I have to automatically defend myself because my skin precludes me from being innocent before proven guilty. But see, most of y'all won't do that. Now, I know you'll say that's an isolated incident, so I'll give you another one. In 2005, later on that summer, I do believe you know that there was a hurricane called Katrina. And I was proud because we got like a ton of money raised. We got a whole bunch of clothing and water and supplies sent out there. And I remember watching when Kanye was standing next to Mike Myers and he said famously, George Bush doesn't care about black people. So, because I'm pretty much the only black guy in the office, what happens? Everybody wants to know Black America's take of what Kanye said based upon the fact that I'm black. And because I was the only black person in the building running the show, who did they come to? Me. And they're like, well, you don't really think George Bush is a racist, do you? I said, well, I've never met the man because up to this point I had not. I said, I'd never really met the man, but here's what I do know. I do know that he hired Colin Powell. I do know that he hired Condoleezza Rice. So at least he has respect for people who are professionals and do what they do. I will say this. If in fact Americans are drowning and walking around in sludge and not knowing where their next meal is coming from, if in fact you're on vacation and you decide to show up 3 days later to help your people, but those people happen to be a group of people who do not resemble you, I can see how Kanye can draw that conclusion. Do I think he's a racist? I don't know because I've never met the man. Do I think that what he did was stupid? Absolutely. Could he have handled it better? Absolutely. But I am not the end-all be-all when it comes to black people and their opinions. My opinion is mine and mine alone. So we have to be very careful, and we have to control our images. One thing that I will tell you is Terrence J has a movie coming out on the 11th that I encourage everybody to see. Queen Latifah is executive producing it. We need to make sure that we're watching our own films and we're supporting each other. Say what you want about Steve Harvey, but if he puts out a film, I'm going to support it. Say what you want about Spike Lee. If he puts out a film, I'm going to support it. I have a lot of issues with Tyler Perry, but if he puts out a film, I'm going to support it. Because the only way to get more films and more things that are going to show us in a positive light is to support things that black people are actually behind so that they take us seriously. Because we have more free spending buying power than any other group in this country, including white folks. That's because we don't do a whole lot of saving. There's a whole lot of demographic stuff there. But I'm going to take a quick break. And when we get back, what I want to do at that point is talk to you about the other stick in my craw when it comes to Hollywood and black women. So you guys stay tuned, all right? Because that's coming up next.
Got a question? Need some advice? Email your questions to bullyquestions@gmail.com.
All right, people, in case you do not know, audibletrial.com/bully. That is my link. You can go get all kinds of great audiobooks there. It is a great, great resource. You can get all types of things. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. Steve Harvey's Act Like a Success, Think Like a Success. And you don't have to have all these books downloaded on your device at once. They stay in the cloud, so when you're ready for them, you can get them. There's a great book by Michelle Alexander called The New Jim Crow. If you need some motivation, there's a book called How to Stay Motivated by Zig Ziglar. Absolutely awesome book. TD Jakes has Manpower too, which is good. I also have Let It Go. So there's a lot of books there that are really going to be helpful to you that you should really go out and get right now. And of course, Audible is giving you a free audiobook download plus a 30-day free trial if you go right now to audibletrial.com/bully and get your whole life doing what you got to do, getting that Audible goodness in your system. audibletrial.com/bully. You know what time it is.
He's one of the leading business coaches and branding experts in the US, generating millions of dollars for brands like Nutrisystem, The Ricky Smiley Morning Show, iHeartMedia, and Les Brown. He's impacted over 1 million people from the stage. Now, best-selling author David Anderson releases his latest book, Pitch, Close, Upsell, Repeat, a practical guide to sales dominance. Learn how to conquer fear of selling, how to get people to buy from you, and more. This book will motivate and inspire you to unleash the sales beast inside of you. Pitch, Close, Upsell, Repeat by David Anderson is available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, or wherever fine books are sold.
All right, people, welcome back to the Business Bully Podcast. I am, of course, David Anderson, and of course, the topic of today's show is newsflash: Hollywood hates black women. Now, I think on my first show I had Antonique Smith, and we were talking about what she experiences being light-skinned in Hollywood, and how that's a whole different set of issues, and how she can never get the regular black girl roles, you know, and it's very ironic. I'm looking at a lot of things, and it's really starting to bug me on a whole lot of levels. So another trailer came out that I saw, and it was the Nina Simone trailer. I'm a Nina Simone fan because my mother would play Nina Simone while she was cleaning up. You know, oh, Cinnamon, we're gonna run to. Cinnamon, we're gonna run to. Love Nina Simone, man. And Nina Simone, you know, wonderful, wonderful talent, very complex individual. I am not mad at anybody getting their money however they get their money. Make no mistake of that. However, Zoe Saldana was not the person to hire to play Nina Simone. She doesn't look like Nina Simone, so then you put prosthetics on her, and then you dip her in a mud-like makeup, which makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. And it is absolutely maddening to me that this happens. And I'm looking at the performance, I'm like, And they have David Oyelowo in it, who was in... oh God, he played Martin Luther King. He was in The Butler. Like he's done a whole lot of really great films. He was just in that film about that guy who kidnapped that white woman in her house and she made him pancakes. Oh, that was a good movie. I can't think of the name of it, but that was pretty damn good. Anyway and anyhow, I was really bummed by watching this trailer, and I started to think of the things that I could have done in that 2.5 minutes that I'll never get back. I could have counted the hairs on my nutsack. I could have, written an article. I could have played with my baby. Like, there's a whole lot I could have done. I could have made myself a hot cup of tea. As the old saying goes, I could have had a V8. And it's just like, why didn't y'all go get like Uzo Aduba from Orange is the New Black, or find some unknown actress? My wife and I were having this conversation this morning. Like, why wouldn't you just find somebody who actually looked a little bit more like Nina Simone, who could actually pull it off? But no, y'all want to get Zoe Saldana. It's as bad as when y'all got Angelina Jolie to play that half black woman. Like, at what point do we start recognizing that Hollywood has a problem with blackness? So why do we keep supporting Hollywood when they keep, giving us their ass to kiss? Something has got to give, man. Something absolutely has got to give. And I don't know what it's going to take for y'all to see that, but something has got to happen. And I'm not sitting up in here trying to be funny when I say this, but I really want us to start, examining the choices that we make, because some of the choices that we make, literally just suck donkey ass. And I mean, I'm upset. I'm frustrated. And then I'm like, who am I more frustrated at? Am I frustrated at Hollywood, or am I frustrated at the level of ignorance of people who don't seem to understand that there is a major, major problem with what's going on in Hollywood? Did you ever wonder why there aren't a whole bunch of black studios, but there are black actors and actresses making millions of dollars? Why do you think that is? Because nobody wants to deal with the headaches. Nobody wants to be blackballed. And if you think for a minute that Home Alone made all that money by itself, a lot of those tickets were Malcolm X tickets. Google it. Spike Lee even copped to it, and they didn't even want that movie to be finished made, so they did everything they could to sabotage it. So there's a lot of stuff that happens that no one ever really talks about. But we have a very strong economic base, black people. We just need to use it. And I want us to do. I want us to do more. I started iBrain University so that people could, do more and take their business to a next level. And I want us to do better. That's the main topic of the show today. Just do better. I'm going to answer some more questions, because I've pretty much said all I had to say about the Hollywood situation, and I want to talk a little bit more about business so that we can actually function and get to another level. So Adrian says, "Hey Dave, what do you do as an entrepreneur when you're in the startup phase? How do you remain calm when everything is on you?" Good question. Me personally, because pretty much everything is on me. And sometimes things can kind of fall by the wayside if I'm not careful. I have to do what I have 6 things. 6 things that are extremely important. So what I wind up doing is I'll take 6 things every day and I'll line them up. And those are the 6 things that I knock out. I also, first and foremost, I pray. I talk to my wife. I play with my kids. Sometimes you just have to walk away from it for a second and then come back to it. But you cannot get frustrated, because business is pain. I remember my mother used to say, when it comes to women, beauty is pain, but business is pain. There's nothing pretty about business. It's ugly. It's dirty. It's knuckle dragging, eye gouging, ear bleeding work. It's not a game. So it's a matter of you taking time and thinking about what it is you need to do. And see, here's the problem. A lot of us do this as entrepreneurs. We'll look at the entire landscape of everything we have to get done or feel like we need to do, and we don't take it piecemeal. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's not going to be tomorrow. You will not wake up tomorrow after going to bed tonight and wake up with a Fortune 500 company if you didn't have one the day before. That's not how this works. It's a marathon. It is not a sprint. And that is okay. If you have questions, you can always go to bullyquestions@gmail.com and get those answered. Now let's see what else here. Got some other questions here. Cherie Lawson says, "Hey Dave, how do I take the very first step?" I will say this. A lot of times, for me, I have a lot of varied passions, and I've pursued them all. Some were greater than others. I will go as far as to say that my writing and speaking career and my radio career were bigger than, let's say, my stand-up comedy career. But my career as a comedic writer and a ghostwriter was very profitable. I'm a big believer in lining up what it is your passions are and then seeing which one of these passions is going to be the most profitable for me. I also look at if there is a place where I can see a hole. I call this the Emmitt Smith phenomenon. Stay with me. If you don't know who Emmitt Smith is arguably one of the most famous football players to ever put on a pair of cleats. Emmitt Smith could literally look at the defense. Once Troy Aikman would give Emmitt Smith that ball, he just handed it off to him, and Emmitt Smith would find a hole to get through the defense and then score a touchdown damn near every time. If he didn't score a touchdown, he was averaging like 30 yards or something crazy like that. So what you want to do is look in the industry where you're about to venture into and find that hole. Find that place that no one has a spot in and make that your spot. See, here's the thing. There's a bunch of people who focus on, let's just pull an example out of my head. I see a lot of sisters selling weave. Nothing wrong with that. How come I don't see sisters doing things like making or manufacturing, track glue or having their own line of thread for weaves, that's stronger than others that make your weave last longer, different types of creams and ointments or things to kind of, break down dandruff or things that they can do in order to keep that quote unquote protective hairstyle functioning longer. See, that's a hole. You want to try and find a hole there and fill it. So you want to first find your passion and then find a hole within that passion that you can fill. And I know you're going to say, well, some of that's not glamorous and some of that is not exactly what I want to do, but it's kind of what I want to do. See, here's the thing. You find the thing that's going to fuel the thing that you really want to do. And then once you got that popping, then do the thing you actually want to do. Michael Jordan went out and won 6 championships before he decided he was going to go start playing some damn baseball. There's a reason. Focus on what makes sense. And what makes sense isn't what everybody else is doing. What everybody else is doing is the exact opposite of what you should be doing. You have to find your niche. Even if you're going to do what everybody else is doing, you have to do it a different way. Dave Thomas, who ran Wendy's at a time when McDonald's and Burger King was popping, decided he was going to have fresh, square hamburgers. Nobody had a square hamburger because all the buns are round. And his buns are round, but he has a square hamburger. It made him stand out. Papa John's, better ingredients, better pizza. I'm trying to give you things that everybody knows. You got to find something just a little bit different. Even in the pizza space, if you look at DiGiorno, they embrace the fact that there's store-bought pizza. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno, because they're saying that their pizza can go head up with any pizza you can get delivered because it's that damn good. So find those things that are going to make you profitable and make you unique and make you stand out. Especially when it comes to your packaging. A lot of y'all really sleep on your packaging. Your packaging has to stand out because you have to look at things on the shelf. Things that pop out to you are colorful. So you got to kind of sit up there and do some homework. Like just when you're going shopping, like always think about your business. Don't go crazy, but be somewhat obsessed. Be aware and be somewhat obsessed with what you see, how things are placed, what you can do to make things a little bit different. That's what I would do. Other first steps that you can take. Start building your tribe. Find those people who have like minds, who are ideal. Your ideal client avatar or your strategic client, what we would call in radio your P1 listener, that person who is designed for you and for the product that you're trying to sell. So you definitely want to do that. One more question that I got here. Alex J. Thompson says, I would like you to discuss the importance of properly establishing your business entity and give a few examples of the right entity for the right business situation. Okay. If you are selling water on the side of the road, you don't necessarily need an LLC. You probably need a DBA. If you don't have a crap ton of employees, you probably don't need an S Corp or a C Corp. You probably just need an LLC. Now, if you do have a crap ton of employees, and this is me being very, very basic in these explanations, but I'm trying to, give you examples so that you can kind of see what works. And I always tell people, get with a business coach, get with a business advisor, even if it's not me, find somebody and sit down with them and go over your options. Now, all of these options have different, tax situations, okay? LLC is called a limited liability corporation because it protects you and your money. If somebody tries to sue you, they can't sue you personally, they can sue the company, which is absolutely awesome. A DBA is doing business as, which means that it's you and you're still using your social security number. You may have an EIN, and you're still operating as you, but you're also doing business as this. So if your business is Bubba Bo Bob Brain Cosmetics, then someone can write a check out to Bubba Bo Bob Brain Cosmetics, and because you're doing business as, you can put that in your DBA account and go about your business. So there are a bunch of little teeny tiny things that you can do to understand the difference between all of those different types of entities. And you want to get set up correctly because you don't want anything being janky. And there are a lot of things now, thanks to modern technology, that weren't around when I first started in business. You got LegalZoom, you got Axel, you got all these different tools that you can use. One thing that I will say is don't use PayPal, use QuickBooks. Because if somebody tries to put a freeze on your account because they're butthurt and not satisfied with the job you're doing for them or whatever the case may be, they can try to freeze your account, and then you got to start doing things. Which brings me to another point. When it comes to the way you establish your business, make sure that you keep excellent records. Make sure you have a copy of every email, every receipt, every conversation, all that stuff. Because at first, it's important to protect yourself. My wife always uses this in metaphor, and I love it. When you're on a plane and the flight attendants will tell you, you have exits here in the front and in the side over the wings, and there's 2 aft exits in the back. And then if by the cabin pressure drops down, maybe the mask will descend from the ceiling. Make sure you put your mask on before you put in anybody else's mask, because you got to make sure you're breathing first. And so those are things that I would recommend that you do. And I got to get this one. Julio just sent me a really good question, and I'm going to read it as he wrote it. Hey, Dave, please talk about customer service. So many black businesses here automatically think that we're supposed to support them just because they're black. We get treated like shit when we enter their establishments. Who wants to deal with negative attitudes? Plus, they're taking forever. The products and services might not be as good quality as another race quality, but we're still willing to work with them through the quote-unquote I'm still learning phases, and still spend money with them while getting treated like that? Shit. Because he put a lot of eyes in it. Not me. First of all, not to be the not all police, but not all black businesses are janky. I want to make that perfectly clear. There are plenty of black-owned businesses that are run effectively. And if you're going to a place where people have lousy customer service, you need to call them out on it. And you need to make it public. But before you make it public, you need to talk to the manager or the owner and let them know what your experiences are. Maybe not then and there in the moment, but you want to give them a call afterwards. And I do this with white businesses, black businesses, all businesses, because my dollar is my power. I vote with my eyes, my ears, my mouth, my time, and my money. Eyes, ear, mouth, time, money. That's what I vote with. And all of those are important, but nothing is more important than the fact that I'm voting with my cash, man. So no, it's not enough for you to just be black for you to earn my business. You have to earn my business by blowing me away with your customer service, by blowing me away with the quality of products that you have. And no, it's not enough to do that. However, I am so sick of black people acting like all black businesses are janky or the prices are too expensive. But did you ever stop to think about the things that those black businesses go through, the learning curves that they have, the hoops that they have to jump through, that their white or Asian counterparts don't have to go through? Truth be told, you can come through in this country and actually not be from here and get a store like damn near overnight. While we got to sit up here and give you 15,000 forms of ID, blood samples, everything else. So, we have to be careful to not lay judgment because, like I said in the beginning of this broadcast, we don't have an issue with folks serving us, egg foo young through bulletproof glass. But now you have an issue, with black folks because it's a black business. And no, you shouldn't get it because it's just black business. You should get it because it's good business and they have stuff there. And we're the only community in America that does not keep, when I say we, I mean black folks, not to alienating anybody else who's listening to the show, but black people have a habit of keeping their money outside of their community. We have to support our own. I'm hoping that Stephon Marbury really brings back Starburys to the States, because I know he's over in Asia right now, because I'm tired of wearing other people's sneakers. I want to wear my own. Hope that answers that, but we can't waste valuable customer acquisition because it's too hard to come by. So make sure that your business is Trump tight. And if you have an issue, do your best to fix it. If you can't fix it, then work it out. And if you can't work it out, well then damn it, learn better. That's it for now. I'm going to be doing as many episodes as I possibly can, but that's it for now. I just want to get that off my chest. Thank you so much for listening. You take care, and I'll see you next time.
Follow us on Twitter at MyInnerBrand. Thanks for listening to the Business Bully Podcast. We'll talk to you next time.